Hi, so today I'm joined with Susan Crow from Workshops Inc. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'd love to. As you mentioned, Joan, I'm Susan Crow. I'm at Workshops Inc. We are a nonprofit here in Avondale on 3rd Avenue South. And we serve people with disabilities and other barriers to employment, helping them prepare for and find work.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I was wondering if you could share a little bit about the history because I was reading up online and you were actually started in like 1900?
Yes, so this year is our 120th anniversary.
Oh,
Of
wow.
course, anything fun we had thought about doing that has kind of been helps for right now, but we're still, of course, celebrating because that makes us one of the oldest nonprofits. So back in 1900, the story goes that a group of concerned citizens in Birmingham um, wanted to find an opportunity for, at the time, it was people who had low vision or blindness, so that they could have the opportunity to work just like anyone else. So a workshop was formed, which is still our organization name today, although we've changed a lot. Originally, the workshop was created so that people who had blindness or low vision could make mops and brooms that would be sold out in the community. So, but we've always been vocationally focused, which I love because, there are a handful of really old nonprofits in Birmingham, but most of us have really morphed over the years, and Workshops has stayed pretty true to its vocational mission for all 120 years of our existence.
That's awesome. I was wondering if you could also share a little bit about how many people usually work in Workshops Inc. and like how do they go about and applying to find work through your organization?
Sure. Well, it's a fairly complex answer, so bear with me for a
That's
second.
fine.
We at any given time during normal times, if you were allowed to come and be a guest in our building, which normally we really love to have people come visit us, so we look forward to that being something that can happen again. But if you were to come visit us on a typical day here at Workshops, we have about 18 staff people at work and about 60 what we call production workers who are on site at any given time. So these are people with either disabilities or other barriers to employment who are employees of our organization, but in a way they're service recipients as well because um, they're working for us as a way of either building stamina or learning who've just worked with us for so long that they're not going to go anywhere else, and we're perfectly fine with that. And when I say they work with us, we do um, handwork that is outsourced to us by over 100 local businesses. So,
Oh,
for
wow.
example, we have a company in Inslee, or kind of on the Inslee Pratt City line. It's a company called Birmingham Fastener, and they make really large threaded products. I'm kind of looking around my desk to see if I have. Oh, let me grab something.
Oh, great.
So this is a Birmingham Fastener nut and a bolt.
Oh,
Let me see if I can get it where you can see it well. I'm trying to unscrew the nut here. So Birmingham Fastener makes bolts, and this is just one example. But their end customer wants the nut put on the bolt. So we have one work area here where pretty much all we do is marry nuts and bolts. And while that may seem like it wouldn't be a dream job for some people it is, because a lot of the people that we serve really thrive off of the repetition and being able to do something really well. So this can be a great job for someone. We also serve pretty much every commercial printer in town. So people who need handwork done, there are a lot of sort of fancy marketing materials that can't be machined. And
mhm.
so we will collate pieces of paper and stuff them together, or we make a lot of kits. Like right now, there are several companies, and these are really companies all over the US, but they may use a marketing firm or a printer here in Birmingham. So we're putting together these sort of welcome back to the office kits. Sometimes they'll have a reusable face mask and some filters and maybe a little bottle of hand sanitizer and a little flyer that tells you what our company is doing to keep on safe these days. And we'll put it all in a little cooler that they give us and send it out to their associates all over the country. So we do a lot of mailing as well. Kind of anything that you can imagine that a local company does that is repetitive and needs a human touch element. I mean, we even build beer boxes for Cahaba Brewing. just the cases that their cases of beer ultimately go into. So things like that, the brewers were having to stop their very important work of making our beer and building boxes. So they outsource that to us, and it takes one thing off their plates while also providing employment and training to the people we serve here at workshops. So that's just, I said it was kind of a complex answer because that's just one group of people we serve. We call those folks our production workers. Over the course of the year, we'll end up 700 people altogether, and really only a fraction of those are going to be production workers here in our building. The majority of people we serve are referred by either the Alabama Department of Rehab Services or the Alabama Department of Human Services. And they are people who are coming to workshops, who are going to take some job readiness classes, learn how to interview, learn how to make a resume, learn some basic job skills, a lot of those soft skills, things like the importance of showing up, for example, showing up to work on time, dressing appropriately, having good body language, having good eye contact. You know, a lot of to be able to master in order to have a job. So we'll teach people those things, and then we take them out in the community and help them find jobs. So the majority of people we serve will never work inside workshops or even train for a very short time inside workshops. We want to get them in, teach them what they need to know, and help get them out in the community. And then there's one more group of people we serve, and those are high school students. And the high school students we serve are all students with disabilities. And they are kids that we help with what's called transition. And in this case, it means the transition from high school to what comes after. Most of the people we serve are not necessarily going to go on a college path. So these are kids who we want to help transition as smoothly and quickly as possible from high school into work, so they can be really successful in that. Because if you have high school and you go home and sit on mom's couch, you know, your motivation goes down, your self-confidence goes down. I mean, that happens to everyone with disabilities. We want to help them get out there and seize the opportunity as quickly as they can so they can be really successful.
That is all really amazing. And I love that you were part of this project and that you are doing all this great work in Birmingham. And so I want to thank you for that, because I had no idea about Workshops Inc. until, you know, I had done some research. And it's just amazing because it's, you know, work skills, but also life skills. And
yes.
It's like a lifetime gift that you are providing for people.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It is, for me, it's very fulfilling because, you know, the old proverb that I think all of us have heard of, you know, giving a man a fish or teaching a man to fish, or giving a person a fish rather, you know, we really are giving people the tools they need to be successful for their whole lives. And most of the people that we serve, they really want to work. They just want the opportunities that the rest of us have. But for any number of reasons, that hasn't been a very easy process for them. So we want to help open that door and help make them successful. And it's funny too that you mentioned not knowing about workshops, and that's sadly not unusual at all. You're in very good company with really most of the rest of our community. We'll often tell people we're the oldest nonprofit in Birmingham that you've never heard of, which isn't exactly our dream tagline, but we actually are working this year with another great company that's down the street from us on 3rd Avenue South. They're a little bit more in Lakeview than in Avondale, but Cayenne Creative has selected us as their pro bono client of the year from their Fire in the Belly contest. So we are so excited about the ideas they've already come up with to help us kind of, you know, finally let everyone, after 120 years, we're blowing the cover off this story.
I'm really glad that we met in this way, and I'm really curious, how is your organization dealing during COVID? Are things different? I'm guessing they are a little bit.
They are quite different, and then there are a lot of things the same too. You know, I think like a lot of people in Birmingham, we saw this growing virus in other parts of the world, and I don't think we knew how serious it was until it sort of smacked us in the face in Alabama, when all of a sudden, I mean, it just felt like there was this point in time in mid-March where we were like, holy cow, this is serious business. We have to do something. And I think we went from kind of laissez-faire to this is big time within like a week. I don't know if that was the same for other folks in their experience, but we, when we realized how serious this coronavirus is, we decided, like so many other businesses, that we really needed to close our doors for a little while. So I think it was around the 20th of, about a week before the 20th, we started sort of triaging, I guess, the people who needed to be in our building. We wanted to make sure that we finished up all of the work that we had in progress for our business customers. But by the 20th of March, we shuttered our facility. And I mean, we didn't know if it was for 2 weeks or for 3 weeks. It ended up being about 7 weeks before we came back. So we began to reopen our facility on May 12th. And I can't really say that we were closed as an organization because we were still serving people. We actually were still helping people get jobs during that time, but all of our staff were working from home, and our production workers, unfortunately, were not having the opportunity to work at all, which is, very challenging for people. So I am pleased to say that we were able to keep paying everyone at least something. And just a month into the changes, as it were, we were fortunate to get a PPP loan like a lot of other businesses did. So we were able to restore everyone to their full pay as of April 20th, which we
That's great.
feel really, really fortunate to be able to do that. So we reopened our facility on May 12th, but we had sort of a slow opening, if you will, where we were just letting a few people in at a time and sort of building up our numbers. And ever since that time, and of course continuing through today and into the foreseeable future, we are not letting guests in our building. So only folks who really have a need to be here are allowed. We take the temperatures of everyone who come in our building. We're all, unless you're in a private office like I am right now, we're all wearing masks. We have a really huge building, which we sometimes complain about because it has a lot of inefficiencies in a building this size, but it's actually turned out to be a real blessing during this time because we've had no trouble whatsoever with social distancing. We've gone in and put big X's on the floor in our production areas that are all spaced out a minimum of 6 feet from one another. So we feel like we're able to have people working here, getting their jobs done, getting paid, while still in a relatively safe environment. The same is true our break room with about 20 tables in it, and we only allow one person at a table. So, a lot of the same precautions the rest of the world is taking right now. We learn more about this virus every day. We don't believe it lives on surfaces very long, but when new work comes into workshops, we let it sit for about 48 hours before we touch it. Just so if anything's, on the materials that come into us, it has a chance to die. So we really, we're taking a lot of precautions here, trying to keep our folks safe. I'm pleased to say we've been back up and running at pretty much full steam for about 2 months now. And so far, we've fared very well. And so we're just going to continue to stay the course and try to keep everybody safe. In the meantime, a lot of little things have changed. We typically would be willing to drive a job candidate to a job here in town, and we're not doing that anymore because a car is just a little too close to be with someone else. So there are some changes for sure, but we're trying to adapt all of our services to still provide the best quality service we can, to still help people meet their vocational goals, to get jobs, to be successful out in the community. But it just looks a tiny bit different these days.
Yeah, it's a little different. It sounds like we are going through the same kinds of transition stuff here at the library too. We're doing a lot of the. We're not open to the public, but we're doing contactless curbside, and we do have our 6 feet away from each other, and we're in a staggered schedule. So it's kind of it's very weird every day because you never know what you're gonna wake up to. It's like
absolutely,
and you just have to take it one day at a time. Operations. What are the things that bring you happiness and that you make time for? Just any time in life, but especially now during this different time in the world. And have you picked up any new hobbies?
Well, when I was working at home for about 7 weeks, I learned several things. One is that I do not work from home very well. I'm a person that really needs some structure in her life, so I'm really glad to be back in the office. But I loved being able to spend a little bit more time with my kids who were 13 and 16. Um, we kind of have failed at the homeschooling thing, but we did enjoy a lot of time together, so that was nice. I do love to cook, and so I have really enjoyed cooking more meals at home during this whole time. And I've even, like a lot of the world, I adopted a sourdough starter, and I've made sourdough bread. That's actually kind of fallen by the wayside since I've been back at the office, because that takes way too much planning for me. So I'm afraid I've probably killed my starter at this point. But I also have grown the most beautiful garden this year, which I always
Nice.
have one or two tomato plants, but I'm actually being overrun right now with tomatoes and peppers and herbs. And so I'm so excited about that. And I've been able to do a lot more reading. So there are definitely some bonuses on a personal level that have come about during this. And I think that all of us have a chance to be more introspective and think about some of the things that really matter most in our lives. I mean, I'm really fortunate that both of my parents are still living, and they live in the same community with me. And so while we've tried to social distance, my family and I, and oftentimes me alone, we'll go sit on the patio and just have much longer and more regular visits than we typically would have. And so I think it's, while I would never have wanted or asked for this sort of change in the world, there definitely are some silver linings that, I think to be able to slow down and to care for those around you. And, I think even with the changes that have come about with since the killing of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, really be introspective and look at the places we fall short in our own lives, and look at the ways that we need to make sure that we're building the best world we can for all people in our community, and especially people of color and those who've lived on the margins for so long. So I tend to be more of an optimist than a pessimist. Sometimes it depends on the day, but I've seen a couple of quotes written that say, what if 2020 is actually, not that any of us would have asked for this, but why not take the opportunity that's being presented to us and say, what can we do differently moving forward? How can we reorder our lives so that this time is not time wasted, but time that we are given to work on some things that need to be worked on.
I guess this moves into a library question, but do you have any favorite books or favorite authors or favorite films, or what are you currently reading?
I'm currently reading two books. I'm still finishing up Becoming, which the Michelle Obama memoir, and I have loved it. And I have really enjoyed seeing how her experience really ties in with a lot of what's going on in the world today. She grew up middle class for sure, but as an African-American woman on the south side of Chicago, she had a lot of challenges purely because of her race, even though she was such an overachiever and is an overachiever. So I've loved reading that. I still have about half of it.
She's amazing.
I've also just, she is amazing. I've also just started reading, I've just completely blanked on her name. But the lady who wrote White Fragility, which is a book that it's actually written by a white woman, but it really talks about the obligation to understand as it relates to the history of Black and Brown people today. And I've actually tried to make a commitment. I've always considered myself working very hard to not be racist, of course, but to actively work to be anti-racist is what I'm trying to address now. Is really helping to address that. And I did recently a 21-day challenge with my awesome church, Highlands United Methodist, and where we all made a commitment to spend days reading, watching, listening to podcasts and other sorts of materials to really work more toward that anti-racist. And 21 days, of course, doesn't mean yay, 21 days is up, we're good now. It's really just to try to build some habits and commitment to continue to move forward in that. I went to the beach, thankfully, for a week at the end of May, and my guilty pleasure book at the beach was The Testament, which is the sequel to Margaret Atwood's Handmaid's Tale.
Yes.
And I've loved the Hulu series of Handmaid's Tale as well. But The Testament, I mean, if you like The Handmaid's Tale, you really should read that book for folks who haven't already. But so I do love to read. I kind of go in fits and spurts. You know, sometimes I'll go a month or two without picking up a book, and then I'll have 4 books going at once. The best book that I've read in the last 2 years or so is a book called Homegoing. And the author, I can't remember her name right now, but it's a really lovely historical fiction account of a young woman essentially who grew up in West Africa during the time of the active slave trade, and how eventually her family was forced to, of course, to come to what became the United States. And beautiful tie-in between the culture in Africa and how her family has lived and survived here in this country. It's a really lovely book. So generally speaking, I love historical fiction. I love to learn about real events, but through a little bit of a fiction lens as well. So those are some of my recent favorites.
What can the community do right now to support Workshop Sync, and how can they get involved in any way?
All right, thank you for asking that, and thanks for the interview. This has really been fun. And
of course, thank you.
I want to meet you in person, and
we should.
Do a pop trivia. Yeah, really fun. You know, I think that as far as how the community can help Workshops Inc., we are a community-supported nonprofit, and so of course, you know, I mean, the answer is always funding, because that's important to all of us. But with Workshops Inc., we also have the opportunity to involve the community in ways that involve hiring people who may be non-traditional workers. If you work for a company or in some sort of position where you have the opportunity to hire, consider giving Workshops Inc. a call and see if we might have a great candidate for you. Because the people that we serve, they want to work, which we don't often find in the main population of people who are looking for jobs. But we serve people who can be the most loyal employee you've ever had. They just need a chance to get their foot in the door and get things started. So considering people, if not from Workshops Inc., then people with disabilities in general, or folks who may have a criminal record, just people who you might not normally think of as your first choice, like I said, could end up being the best employees you've ever hired. And kind of along those same lines is just helping spread the word. You know, hey, there's this nonprofit in Avondale that's doing good work. We always need, we'd love to have volunteers. You know, I think we're probably via Zoom these days, but volunteers who will do a mock interview with someone. You know, a job is intimidating, even for folks who have fairly typical abilities and have been out in the workforce for a while. So we do a lot of mock interviews. That's a pretty easy and kind of fun way to volunteer to help people get ready for work. Just to, you know, become an advocate for people with disabilities and their full inclusion in the community. So those are really our calls of action for the day. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And thank you so much. And I've really appreciated your time.